You know, now it's just glued into the side of my spine. But other than that, I mean, I can do yoga, I can play the drums, I can do push-ups. I didn't do a push-up for 10 years. Didn't sleep on my side for 2.5 years. That's my story on raw food, the healing I've received. Belief in a rational reality. Because reality is rational and it's irrational at the same time. It's both. Yeah, it's non-rational. It's non-linear. It's things that happen to us that are indescribable, that you can't just say that was a coincidence. It was a synchronicity of high meaning, of deep meaning. And this can happen more and more and more and more, in particular if we get our mineralization high, let alone if we're on the raw food. But I think as a segue, as a good step, is to look at all the food you're eating and go, what's the minerals like here? For example, like a baked potato, a russet potato, has very, very low minerals and very high sugar. So it's got exactly the characteristic that causes addictive behavior. That's what causes addictive behavior. High sugar, low minerals, right? Alcohol. Alcohol is a sugar, has no minerals in it, and so it causes this addictive relationship. White sugar is the same thing. Obviously, Wonder Bread is a similar type of phenomenon. So what we do is we move towards food that has more minerals in it. For example, 7-grain bread has tons of more minerals in it than, say, Wonder Bread has. Dehydrated, sprouted bread would have even be better, and flax crackers even better. So you move on as you can. I guess the best thing to do to segue your way in though is let's look at the minerals first. The potato has this very low amount of minerals. Right next to the potato is the yam. Yam can have 2, 3, 4, 5 times more minerals in it. 5 times. In fact, what we found through the growing things with ocean water, that yam can pick up 76 minerals. 76 minerals, one of the most mineral-dense foods that we can eat if it has all the minerals in the soil. Also has less than half the sugar that the potato has. Notice the difference there. You see that? So it's got high minerals, maybe moderate sugar, whereas the potato has high sugar, no minerals. Anything that's high sugar, no minerals is like there's no purpose in having it. It's completely a drug, in every sense of the word. So even things like, for me personally, I mean, obviously bananas are better than like, diet vanilla Coke. That's like the latest thing. I saw that today. It was hilarious. We were behind this truck, and the Chicago Tribune reporter is like, "Oh, there's David's favorite drink," and it was on the back of this truck. It said Diet Vanilla Coke. Obviously it's better. But bananas, just to be strictly and perfectly honest with you, have a high amount of sugar and really no minerals in them. So it's like, what would be the purpose of having that? For me, it's like, well, hey, it's a raw food and it's obviously ecologically more friendly, but it doesn't serve me anymore. Does that make sense? That's where I'm at with the conversation inside myself. Okay.
When you take these angstrom-sized minerals, is it okay just to take a little bit of each mineral every day, or how does that work?
Okay, let's just jump right into questions and answers. Does that work for everybody? So the angstrom-sized minerals, what they are is they're minerals that are extremely small in terms of their size. They're 1,000,000 times smaller than a colloidal mineral, and they're water-soluble. That's even more important, that they are water-soluble. That means that they cannot accumulate up in your body, which is an amazing thing, just that alone. How do you take them? Well, you want to take each one individually. You can't, because it's just, I'll tell you what, the guy who developed those minerals, he's been put in front of 23 grand jury tribunals to try to stop him. Now, let me just repeat that. Al Capone had 3 grand jury tribunals. 23. If he wasn't a lawyer, you wouldn't have access to those things. If he wasn't a lawyer, you wouldn't even have access to that. You know why? The government would have shut it down. Why? Because when you start talking about minerals, then you're talking about real medicine. You're talking about something that shifts consciousness. And that's at the very high up. Whoever's at the very high up, and this is just an opinion, I don't really know what's going on, I do have a very good guess, they are on to the mineral thing. And they don't really care even if you're eating raw food as long as the food's demineralized. And the foods in this country, in the Midwest, been demineralized since the 30s, meaning deficient in zinc, selenium, copper, chromium, manganese, all those minerals. That hasn't even been in the soil because it's all been pulled out by just excessive cropping, not replenishing the soils properly, etc. So they are very concerned about you having access to those minerals. And what I like about them so much is it's just the mineral. It's not a chemical compound. It's not like calcium citrate. It's not magnesium citrate. It's not potassium chloride. It's just the mineral itself. And that's, as a chemist, you know, I really love chemistry and science. I want just the mineral. That's it. Water soluble. That's it. But that's exactly what they tell you you can't have, which gets me a little concerned. And they try to stop this. Done everything they can. Now this guy is turning around and suing the FDA, the federal government, the IRS, because he beat them in court. Now that's beautiful. That is beautiful that there's somebody out there like that. My friend Dr. Hinson, and he's a neat guy, and just a neat guy. Yeah, yeah. He's the guy who, what he did is he went back into the government research. So the extra minerals were developed in the 1950s and have been used since then, and it was developed in combination with the U.S. military and the National Institute of Health. And they did lots of research on this back in the 50s, and he revived them, I think, in the late 70s, and then put them on the market in the 90s. And that's where we're going with all this. It's really, that's what that's about. But you want to do them separately, spaced out every about 2 minutes. That's how you do it. Oh, sure. I used to do all 21 every single day. And
how many drops?
It's different for each one. It's droppers in terms of quantity. They're dropper amounts. Zinc, you do a little bit more, maybe 4 droppers, like dropper fulls. Things like copper would be 1 dropper full. Copper's a little stronger. If that works for you, if you're into that. I just, you know, take them for fun. I've had great results with them. I like to do zinc. Zinc is my favorite. I've also enjoyed doing molybdenum I like. And it's just given me more insight in the field of nutrition because this is what I do. So I want to make sure that I really do have knowledge in this field through experience, my own experience. And that's why I'm really into them. It's a very good point that she just said right there, because that's what minerals are all about. Yeah, I'm going to repeat that. I want to repeat that so everybody gets that. See, what minerals really do, I don't know if you caught this when I was talking about, if you give the plant minerals, it produces 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 times the amount of enzymes that were present before. That's all the enzymes in your body run on trace minerals. That's why we have this whole thing about, we've all heard about trace minerals. Haven't we heard about that? And that's why we want trace minerals in our body, is because we want to activate all those enzymes. If we could go through our whole life, by the way, it's like there's a salamander called the axolotl that can go through its entire life cycle from birth, reproduction, death, the whole thing. We sexually reproduce in the immature stage. Does that sound like a man you know? Sexually reproduce in the immature stage, meaning it never goes out of the tadpole stage. However, when the conditions are right, when the food is right, all of a sudden it is allowed to fully mature into its salamander stage. And this is kind of like what's happening with us, is that we can go through our whole life cycle totally demineralized, eating deficient food, thinking this is all there is, and there's a whole other thing there that's available to us based on mineralization and proper nutrition. And as we get into those stages, then we have new perspective. Then we have a hyperdimensional perspective where we can step back and go, whoa, now I see what was going on there. Now I see why I was doing that, what that reality was all about, and this is a different reality. And I'm not going to say it's a better reality, it's just a different reality. Because I'll tell you one thing, as we rise higher in whatever we're doing, whether it's martial arts or whether it's nutrition or whether it's yoga or whether it's breath work or whatever the focus is, it doesn't get easier. It gets harder. It does get harder, which is kind of a bummer. You know, you think like someone works all their life to get wealthy, all of a sudden they get all this wealth, and is it easier? No, because then you have to protect it all. It's more challenging, except the trick is you arrive into that moment with more skills. You arrive with more skills. And the skills allow you to overcome the next obstacle and the next obstacle, and it never ends. There's always more. So I've come to a place where it's like, how do we enjoy this more? How do we enjoy it more? How do we enjoy it more? How do we enjoy change more? How does the worst thing ever become the best thing ever?